Hey, what's going on out there? Sean Devine, and today I want to do a tutorial for this beat. It's called Overtime, and I had a question that came up in the comments, and it said, could you please put up a tutorial on this beat, Sean? How do you make it sound so wide and that 808? So I'm going to talk about both of those. We're going to talk about how you can make wider sounding beats with less instruments. You'll notice in this session that there is not a lot going on musically. It's pretty sparse, but I just use things in a way to make them full, make them wide, to where I'm not having to put as much instrumentation. I used to, as a beat maker, producer, I used to just put crazy amounts of instrumentation, and I would have these massive sessions for my instrumentals. But over time, I just found that through mixing and through just production techniques, you can make a little sound like a lot. So let me just play back the beat and I'll let you hear what I've got. Let's just start somewhere in here. All right, so that gives you an idea of what we're working with. And let's go ahead and let's just break down some of these different elements and kind of just talk about them individually so I can shed some light on how we made them wider and just more present and more impactful. So for instance, if we look at this main piano, I'm going to let you hear it just as is. It's a really simple piano. I mean, I have like 2-note chords in here. It's just, there's not a lot to it in terms of the voicing of it, but it's a really big sound. It's wide. There's a lot of delays going on. I've created a lot of space with reverb and some other effects, which I'm going to show you in just a sec. But let me just take all this off and let you hear just the dry piano. So it's quite a big difference. Much more interesting, much wider, and it just really creates a certain mood, which this is what I started with on this beat. But let me just talk about how we made it wider and just some of the processing going on. First of all, you got a bit crusher, which, you know that effect. Just kind of makes it more lo-fi, and we've got some downsampling going on, and the resolution is set at 12-bit. Then we have a multipressor, which that's just doing a little bit of upward compression for the quiet stuff. Actually, excuse me, it's doing some downward compression just on the mids, because pianos can be a little bit harsh. So we're just taming that a little bit. And then we've got another EQ where we're taking off some lows because we don't need any of that in our piano because we've got a heavy 808 bass in here. Now this is where a lot of the width comes from, is some of these delays and echo effects that I've got on here. So let me play that. So I have this crystallizer, I plug in this effect rack for the new Sound Toys, but it just gives it a like a stereo delay effect. And in fact, some of the delays are kind of reversed, which makes it really cool. Then I have another crystallizer on here. which is doing some more kind of like spacey, so you can still hear them going. Some cool reverse delays. And then finally we have the reverb, which this is a big reverb. The Valhalla vintage reverb can do really large spaces. So yeah, I mean, that's really how we got that one to sound more wide and more interesting. I think a lot of you are probably hearing the space that we're creating with instruments, and that creates this kind of perception that something is really wide because of the reverb and the delays going on. So that's the piano. Now let's break down some other stuff here. What else do we have? Okay, let's talk about this percussive element over here in the verse, which is this. Now what this is this is a loop that came out of my 336 drum kit, and I just chopped it up. So I mean, it's probably just a bar section. But what makes the verse sound a lot wider is the fact that we have a pan man, which I'll show you how to do this without the plugin, but this just makes it easier. What it's doing is it's just panning from left to right. And that just creates movement throughout the entire verse. I was just doing a live session with a student, and he was asking a similar question about how do you make percussive elements interesting and not get boring. And this is one of them. You know, if I take this off and it's just sitting, it's still a cool loop, but it just creates more movement. And I have it set to sync to time, so it's just got a very, again, rhythmic panning effect going on there. So that's something you can do on your percussion to get a wider sound. I think I've got that going on in another loop in the hook over here somewhere. Let me see. Yeah. So that's got a really wide sound, and that's got more of these. This is actually just like a distortion effect, but then it goes through this Dr. MS, which is a mid-side processing plugin. If you don't know about mid-side processing and you're really interested in making things wider, I would absolutely encourage you to do some research and read up on mid-side processing, because it's very, very powerful. So essentially what mid-side processing allows you to do is it gives you control over frequency spans. So let's say, like, you know, from 100 hertz down, I could control the width of that. So if I want it to be more mono versus more stereo, and how far stereo, you can control things like that. Or if you want to just do the highs, and I've showed you all some plugins in my other videos, like Waves Vitamin, that gives you the power to do this type of stuff. And you can also do it on your own just by separating frequencies on a channel. I may do another video on that. There's just so much stuff to cover here, y'all. But mid-side processing, definitely check it out. Let's see what else is going on here. All right, this bass sound, it is just audio, and I had another question from people about, you know, whether or not I bounce to audio, and you can see in the session, absolutely, there are some just audio tracks, this silent lead. And the reason why I do that is because these channels had a lot of effects on them. Like, they might have had 10 to 15 different inserts to get them to where they are, or they were just really CPU heavy. So I would go ahead and bounce them out. But I can tell you right now, the width of this sound, this is from Omnisphere, if I'm not mistaken. And I just distorted it. And the sound itself was already pretty wide. So a lot of this width has to do with choosing the right instruments. And sometimes, you know, you have an instrument where you're doing a ton to make it wide, but then other times you may just have a preset that has a really wide sound to it, and then you can just tweak it from there. And that one was the case. I didn't do a ton to that to make it sound wide. All right, so this sound, I can tell you right now, I remember putting this together. This was Omnisphere, but I had 4 different instances of it. So let me just see if I can, let me pull up Omnisphere, and I'll show you what I did for this one. It was basically a multi, and I just mixed them together, but it was really, really CPU heavy at this point, trying to use 4 different sounds. But the width from that comes from mixing all these together. So I went up here and I had like 4 different patches, and then just use the same MIDI channel, and that's what gives you this really layered, complex key sound. And then I also would, you know, pan certain, so I'd go over here to the mix, and you could pan certain things like this. And you can make a really wide, kind of like a multi-instrument out of it. So that's what was going on there. Same thing, I printed these. I obviously put a reverb on them. That's got like a gated reverb. All right, so let's talk about the 808, which is what you probably are all interested in, and that's one of the widest elements of the mix. If you notice when that comes in, it's a pretty wide sound. So let me just take off all the effects here. And this is an 808. The sample comes from my friend Flash Beats. I think this was in his kit that he sent me, and so it's a cool sample already. But there's the bend that's happening there is actually automation, I believe. Let me see. Or no, I did portamento. I just did a longer kind of portamento time. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh yeah, so I've got the glide at like 500 milliseconds. If we turn that down, it'd be quicker, but in this one, I thought it was really cool to have this kind of like boom, boom. So already a pretty solid sample, but then a lot of it was just the programming of getting that portamento right. And then the biggest element is this right here. And this is a multiband compressor plugin from FabFilter. It's called Saturn, and it's really cool. As you can hear when I turn it on, you have like that amp hum, and I'll show you, we took care of that with a noise gate, but let me show you what that does. So it's really cool, and it gives it a very wide effect. And so what I did with this is I just heavily boosted the mids and the highs. That's it. And then just put a noise gate on there so that we're gating out that static. And then we have a compressor that is being triggered by the kick. So my kick and my my 808 are just working together there, kind of giving each other space. And we have an EQ and there's nothing going on. I think I was just analyzing it. But it's really low. I mean, the frequencies are hitting. I mean, down into like 40 and 30 territory, which, you know, I put a tweet out not long ago. 40 hertz is the new 50 hertz. That's what I mean, is these lower frequencies, you can hear them on systems now, and they're getting to the point where the stereos and just the headphones that we're using, they're all getting better, I like to believe. There's still a lot of crap out there, but you can hear a lot lower frequencies. So anyway, that's really about it, y'all. In terms of the master, I don't master my beats per se. Like I like to leave it until we've got the vocals. And I talk about that a lot. There's no point in mastering a beat and then you're going to master it again whenever the vocals are laid down. So with this, all I'm doing is just some leveling. If I take it off, I mean, I think I'm only boosting it a dB, and then we're just cutting off some of the absolute peaks. So it's not doing much. I mean, it's just touching it. And that's about it, y'all. So hopefully that helps. Again, you know, a lot of the width just comes from delays, creating space, using reverbs, echoes, and things to pan left and right. We also can use things like panning. This Pan Man plugin is really cool. And if you don't have that, guys, you know, a lot of you get really discouraged because you're like, I can't get that plugin, or I can't afford that. Look, you can do all this stuff. It may take you a little bit more time. The only reason why I do it that way is because I'm doing this constantly, and I've got to be as efficient as possible, you know, just to get around sessions. But I mean, you can sit here and you can use panning and do the exact same thing as what the plugin is going to do. You know, just do it manually, and do that for a while until you can get the plugin to save you some time, and then go out and get it. Not a big deal. So that's another thing. And then also check into mid-side processing. This is a really cool plugin. It's not as user-friendly. It takes some time to get used to, but it does have some really good presets if you want to just delve into mid-side processing and getting a wider sound where you can control the frequencies within your instruments. So anyway, I hope this helps y'all. Use it, and if you learned anything from this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.